Have you ever felt like you're always expected to be the nice one, to keep the peace? Avoid conflict. Be agreeable, no matter how you feel inside, you smile. Even when it hurts, you say yes, when your whole being wants to say no. And slowly, almost without noticing, you disappear. That kind of niceness may look virtuous on the outside, but what if I told you, it's not kindness, it's a quiet form of self-erasure? We're often taught from a young age, being a good person means pleasing others, being easygoing, never rocking the boat, but this belief, it's not wisdom, it's conditioning, it's a survival tactic, and over time, it becomes a cage. The truth is, always being the agreeable one isn't strength, it's fear, dressed up as virtue, and Stoic philosophy, it calls that out for what it is. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they didn't teach obedience, they didn't chase approval, they taught virtue, living with reason, with courage, with truth. Goodness isn't passive, it's not about being liked, it's the strength to live by your principles, even when the world pushes back, because what's the point of being good, if it means betraying yourself? Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a 42-year-old teacher, loved by her students, respected by her colleagues. She never complains. Always volunteers, always puts others first, but behind that warm smile is a deep exhaustion. She's afraid to say no. Afraid to express disagreement, afraid to disappoint anyone. Why? Because she's been taught that her worth comes from being needed. Sarah isn't selfish, she's not weak, she's just been trapped in the lie that to be lovable, she must be selfless, to the point of self-destruction. But what if real strength is the opposite? What if being good doesn't mean being small, but being honest? Stoicism reminds us, virtue is clarity. It's saying no when something violates your values. It's not about being rude, it's about being real. You can be kind and still set boundaries. You can be compassionate without being compliant. So I'll ask you, how often have you kept quiet just to avoid discomfort? How many times have you sacrificed your peace to protect someone else's feelings? And what has that cost you? Because that constant self-silencing, it drains you. It chips away at your dignity, and eventually, it disconnects you from who you really are. But it doesn't have to stay that way. There is another path, a quieter, stronger rebellion. It begins when you stop apologizing for existing, when you stop seeking permission to speak, to feel, to take up space. That's the Stoic path. The path of internal freedom. Not freedom from responsibility, but freedom from needing approval. In this video, we're going to explore the hidden costs of people-pleasing, the Stoic definition of real virtue, and how you can reclaim your voice, your strength, and your sense of self. Because the world doesn't need more agreeable people, it needs more authentic ones. It needs you, clear, grounded, unapologetically real. Let's begin. Have you ever noticed something strange? The kinder you are, the more invisible you become. You give, you agree, you keep the peace, and yet, instead of being appreciated more, you start to feel overlooked. You bend over backward to avoid conflict, but somehow, you gain less respect, not more. Why is that? Because the world does not reward blind kindness, it respects strength. Wrapped in kindness, not the kind of kindness that forgets itself. Let me paint a clearer picture for you. You're the reliable one, the yes person, the listener, the supporter, the one who never complains. You pride yourself on being generous, patient, and understanding. But lately, you feel drained, your needs get pushed aside, your boundaries blur, your voice grows silent, and in the quiet moments, you start to ask yourself, am I truly being kind, or am I just afraid to upset people? Am I living my values, or merely avoiding discomfort. This isn't weakness, this is a wake-up call, a sign that your kindness needs a spine. The ancient Stoics saw this. Centuries before us, Marcus Aurelius didn't preach passive submission. No, he wrote about strength, strength of character, clarity, and purpose. Seneca didn't say, "Be agreeable at all costs." Instead, he said, "A good character, when supported by reason, is unshakable." The Stoics taught, virtue isn't about pleasing others, it's about living in alignment with truth and reason, even when it's uncomfortable. In other words, real kindness is not about saying yes to everything. Real kindness is about saying yes to your values, and no to what violates them. So what does this look like? In real life, it means saying, "No, that doesn't work for me. I care about you, but I won't betray myself to make you comfortable. I'm willing to help, but not at the cost of my well-being." That's not cruelty, that's clarity, because people don't respect those who give endlessly and without limits. They respect those who give wisely, who protect their time, their energy, and their dignity. Here's the truth you need to hear: when you don't set boundaries, you teach people that you have none. But when you draw the line, with calm confidence, you teach people how to treat you. So let me ask you, when was the last time you said yes? When your heart screamed no? How many times have you sacrificed your truth, just to avoid being disliked? And what has that cost you? Your peace, your energy, your self-respect. Because respect doesn't come from being soft, it comes from being centered. You don't need to be loud or aggressive to be powerful. You need to be grounded in who you are. The Stoics remind us of this essential truth: you can be kind and still say no. You can be loving and still have limits. You can be calm and still be unshakable. So here's your challenge today: redefine kindness, not as self-erasure, not as approval-seeking, but as a steady, quiet strength that honors your truth while respecting others, because the most powerful kindness is the one that starts with self-respect, and the world, it doesn't just notice that kind of kindness, it remembers it. If you're tired of being taken for granted, if you're ready to stop losing yourself in trying to please others, if you want to live with grounded confidence that commands respect without raising your voice, then stick around. In the next video, we'll explore how to master the art of saying no without guilt, and why that one simple word can transform your entire life. Until then, remember, your kindness deserves a backbone. Your voice deserves to be heard, and your life deserves your unapologetic presence. Have you ever felt like you're living a life that's not entirely yours, like you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying not to upset anyone, saying yes when your soul is screaming no, smiling when what you really want is space and silence? Let me ask you something deeply important: who are you really living for? We're not born needing approval. We learn it, we're taught it. Quietly, subtly, as children: be a good kid. Don't make trouble. Make everyone happy. And slowly, without even realizing it, we start to believe that love is conditional, that to be accepted, we must perform, shrink, stay quiet. What begins as a way to belong becomes, over time, a cage. Let me tell you about someone. Let's call him Elias. Elias was the kind of man people loved to be around, always helpful, always agreeable, never raised his voice, never caused waves. On the outside, he was the picture of kindness and calm, but behind that pleasant smile was a man quietly fading away. He said yes to everyone, except himself. One day, he woke up and couldn't recognize who he was anymore, not because others stole his identity, but because he gave it away, one quiet compromise at a time. That's not humility, that's self-abandonment. How many times have you silenced your truth, just to avoid conflict? How often have you traded authenticity for approval, hoping to be liked, but ending up invisible? This is the invisible cost of people pleasing. You lose your voice, you lose your power, you lose yourself. But the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they saw through this illusion. They understood, real strength isn't about pleasing others, it's about standing firm in who you are, even if the crowd disapproves. Virtue, they said, is not submission, it's self-mastery. Being kind doesn't mean being silent, being good doesn't mean being small. You can be both compassionate and courageous. Kind and clear, empathetic, but unshakable, because here's the truth no one tells you: you don't need permission to exist, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries, and you are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your own truth. Let me say that again: you are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your own truth. So, what would it look like if today you chose honesty over habit? What would change if you stopped performing for an invisible audience and started living for yourself? Imagine the freedom in saying, "No, that's not right for me. I need space to breathe and grow. I will not sacrifice my peace to make someone else comfortable." Speak even when your voice shakes. Take up space, not with arrogance, but with grounded self-respect, because the world doesn't need more agreeable people, it needs more real ones. You were not born to be a shadow of yourself, you were born to show up fully, unapologetically, with both kindness and backbone. If no one has told you this before, let me be the first: you have the right to exist, exactly as you are, not watered down, not edited, not waiting for approval. The greatest gift you can give this world is your authentic self. The power of showing up as you, flaws, strength, fears, and all, is transformative. It changes how you see yourself, it changes how others see you, and it shifts the energy around you, because authenticity calls authenticity, vulnerability invites connection, strength, wrapped in kindness, commands respect. And that journey, it starts when you stop saying yes just to survive, and start saying yes to your own truth. It begins with small steps: setting a boundary here, speaking your mind there, choosing peace over pleasing, choosing yourself without guilt. This path is not always easy. You will face resistance, sometimes from others, sometimes from within, but the reward is freedom. The freedom to live with integrity, the freedom to breathe deeply, without apology, the freedom to be fully, undeniably, and beautifully you. So today, ask yourself, where in my life am I still shrinking to fit? Where am I silencing my voice just to keep the peace? What would happen if I honored my truth more than my fears? You have everything you need within you: the courage, the wisdom, the kindness, that's strong, and the world is waiting, not for perfection, but for your realness, for your light, for your story, told with honesty and strength. So, start now, begin the courageous act of living your truth, because the life you want, the life you deserve, is waiting on the other side of that yes. Have you ever asked yourself, why, despite always being kind, patient, and good, you still feel invisible? Why your generosity is taken for granted, your patience mistaken for weakness, and your kindness used as a doorway for others to step all over you? If you've ever felt like your goodness isn't enough, like it doesn't earn you the respect or the peace you deserve, then this message is for you. Because here's the hard truth: most people won't tell you being nice isn't the same as being strong. And being good doesn't automatically mean being respected. Today, we're going to dive deep into why kindness alone isn't enough, and how you can cultivate a kind of strength that commands respect, protects your soul, and transforms your life. Have you ever wondered why being a good person doesn't always lead to being respected? Why is it that those who are kind, patient, and gentle so often end up ignored, manipulated, or even stepped on? We've all been told a comforting story. If you're virtuous, the world will protect you. If you're kind, people will love you. If you're patient and gentle, you'll be safe. But here's the truth. That often goes unspoken. The world doesn't reward blind. Kindness, virtue, in its purest, strongest form, is powerful, but when it's passive, when it's soft and silent, it becomes a target, not a shield. Think about the great Stoic philosophers. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. None of them described virtue as harmless submission or quiet compliance. They described it as strength, as a force, as something that must be practiced with clarity and courage. You can be the kindest person in the room, but if you don't stand your ground, your kindness will be mistaken for weakness. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine walking onto a battlefield. In your hand is a cardboard shield. You believe it will protect you because your intentions are good, because you mean no harm. But intentions don't stop arrows, compassion doesn't block a sword, and kindness, without boundaries, is just paper in the wind. Now, imagine the same battlefield, but this time, you carry a well-forged sword, sharpened by your values, balanced by your self-respect. That is real virtue, not the kind that avoids conflict, but the kind that stands firm in the fire. So ask yourself, are you holding a sword, or just pretending a smile is enough? Are you living your values out loud, or hoping that being nice will save you from discomfort? This is the trap many of us fall into. We confuse kindness with passivity. We think being agreeable will earn us love or loyalty, but often it just erases us. The Stoics teach us something vital. Real virtue isn't about being liked, it's about being respected. First, by yourself, then, by others. To live virtuously, you must be honest, radically honest, about what you will and won't tolerate. You must say no when your integrity is at stake. You must defend your boundaries, not with cruelty, but with clarity. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Your virtue isn't proven in silence, it's proven in moments when it's hard to stay firm, and you do it anyway. So what does that look like in real life? It means not apologizing for your standards. It means walking away from what insults your soul, even if it costs you approval. It means showing kindness, yes, but not to the point of betraying yourself. This doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear, and clarity is power. Today, take inventory. Where are you letting softness turn into surrender? Where are you saying yes when you really mean no? Where in your life have you hidden behind kindness when what was needed was strength? Now, imagine flipping the script. Imagine showing up with a virtue that commands respect, not through force, but through unshakable presence. You don't need to yell, you don't need to fight, you just need to stand fully, firmly, in who you are, because in the end, the world doesn't respect people who try to please everyone. The world respects those who know who they are and refuse to betray that. So let your virtue be more than a smile. Let it be a sword, and wield it with grace, because here's the final truth. Kindness without strength is a gift easily taken for granted, but kindness paired with strength is a force that shapes the world. It says, I am here, I matter, I will not be erased. And when you live like this, something remarkable happens. You stop being invisible, you stop being overlooked, you become someone others naturally respect, not because you demand it, but because you embody it. That is the true power of virtue. That is the legacy of the Stoics. That is the way to live a life that's not just good, but truly honorable. So the question remains, will you keep carrying that fragile cardboard shield, or will you pick up the sword, forged by your values and self-respect? The choice is yours. So ask yourself honestly, are you ready to stop hiding behind a fragile kindness that leaves you vulnerable and unseen? Are you ready to step into a power that's calm, clear, and unshakable? Remember, true virtue is not softness that breaks at the first sign of pressure. It is the steel forged in fire, kindness wielded with courage, boundaries held with grace, and strength wrapped in compassion. When you choose this path, you don't just survive, you thrive. You don't just exist, you lead. You don't just hope for respect. You earn it by being real, and that is a kind of freedom and power no one can take away. So, hold your sword high, live your truth boldly, and let your virtue shine, not as a timid light, but as a beacon that inspires everyone around you. Because the world needs more people like you, strong, kind, and unapologetically themselves. Have you ever felt completely exhausted from always saying yes, even when every part of you wanted to scream no, like your kindness is being taken for granted, and no one really sees the real you? What if I told you that being a good person, the way you've been taught, might actually be hurting you? We grow up hearing the same message. Be nice, be agreeable, don't rock the boat. From childhood, we learn that to be loved, we must suppress our true feelings, swallow our needs, and avoid conflict at all costs. We're told kindness means endless patience, quiet endurance, and smiling, even when it hurts inside. But here's the harsh truth, that kind of kindness, the kind that never says no, never sets boundaries, never asks for respect, is not kindness at all, it's weakness, wrapped in a disguise. Let me tell you a story. Meet Maria. Everyone loves Maria, because she's always there. She says yes when she means no. She sacrifices her time, her peace, even her dignity, just to avoid disappointing others. And slowly, her kindness becomes a prison. Does that sound familiar? Because Maria's story is the story of so many of us. We confuse goodness with passivity. We mistake submission for virtue. So what's the alternative? What if kindness wasn't about endless giving, but about boundaries? What if real virtue meant being both loving and strong, compassionate and assertive? This is where the Stoics shine. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they introduced a powerful concept. Prohairesis, moral choice, deliberate will. True kindness is not a blind gift, it's a chosen strength that protects your dignity as much as it serves others. So today, I challenge you. Where are you being kind, out of weakness? Where have you sacrificed your peace, just to keep external peace? And what would happen if you chose kindness with clarity? Have you been playing the role of the nice one, the one who wears the mask, always agreeable, always available, but inside, you're tired, you're fading, you're not seen? True freedom isn't reacting out of hurt, it's acting from deliberate, calm choice. It's saying, no, this doesn't work for me. No, I matter too. No, I will not betray myself for approval. When you start speaking your truth, not everyone will like it, and that's okay, because you don't need everyone's approval. To live your truth, respecting yourself, truly respecting yourself, is the only kind of respect no one can ever take from you. That's the Stoic path, freedom through choice, strength through clarity, peace through self-mastery. So ask yourself, where are you still saying yes, when your heart screams no? Where have you traded your voice for acceptance? And what would happen if you spoke with kindness and conviction? Because the strongest kindness is kindness rooted in self-respect. The most powerful freedom is the freedom to be exactly who you are, So stop pretending, stop performing, stop sacrificing your truth for applause. You don't owe the world your silence. You owe yourself your honesty. This is your time, your life, your choice. Will you keep wearing the mask, or will you step into your power?